How to survive a nuclear war is not a movie question. It is not science fiction, and it is not something only experts think about. It is a real question that millions of Americans could be forced to answer with almost no warning, because a nuclear alert does not come slowly. It does not give you time to think deeply, and it does not explain itself. It appears on your phone, on your television, on the radio, and in that moment your brain will want to panic, freeze, deny, or scroll. And the difference between people who live and people who do not often comes down to what they do in the first minutes. Not hours, not days, but minutes. Because a nuclear war does not begin with an explosion you see coming. It begins with confusion, silence, alerts, rumors, and the sudden realization that normal life just stopped. And if you are in America, the systems that warn you are designed to be blunt and terrifying on purpose, because hesitation kills. So the first thing to understand is that a nuclear alert does not automatically mean a bomb has already hit your city. It means one could be on the way, or several could be, or that something has already happened somewhere else. And your job in that moment is not to guess politics or blame leaders or search social media for comfort. Your job is to move your body to safety immediately, because distance, shielding, and time are the three things that matter most. And everything else is secondary, including fear, because fear burns precious seconds, and seconds are life. So if an alert appears saying there is a nuclear threat or incoming attack, the correct response is not to stand near windows, not to go outside to look, not to drive toward family members across town, but to get inside the nearest solid structure you can reach fast. And when we say solid, we mean concrete, brick, earth, underground if possible, because nuclear weapons kill in layers, first with light, then heat, then pressure, then radiation. And the further you are from all of those, the better your odds. And Americans often underestimate the danger of the flash alone, because the light from a nuclear detonation can blind you permanently even if you are miles away. So looking toward it is a mistake you do not get to undo, which is why getting inside and away from windows is non-negotiable, because glass turns into knives, and pressure waves travel faster than your reaction time. And if you are in a car when the alert comes, do not stay in it. Cars offer almost no protection. They become traps, so abandon it and get inside the closest building, even if it is not perfect, because imperfect shelter beats perfect hesitation. And once inside, you want to put as much mass between you and the outside world as possible, which means basements, interior rooms, underground garages, subway stations, tunnels, or even interior stairwells. And if you are in a house without a basement, you move to the center of the building, away from windows, preferably a bathroom or closet, because plumbing and walls add layers, and layers save lives. And this is not paranoia. This is physics. And the reason people survive nuclear events is not bravery. It is positioning. And if you are thinking about grabbing supplies, you grab only what is directly in your path. Water, a phone, maybe shoes, because walking barefoot through debris later is a disaster. But you do not delay to pack bags, because the first wave is about survival, not comfort. And if a blast happens nearby, the initial shock may knock you down, the sound may disappear, and everything may feel unreal. But what matters is staying inside, because after the explosion comes fallout, and fallout is not fire or noise. It is dust, invisible poison, radioactive particles that fall from the sky and settle on everything. And this is where many people make fatal mistakes, because fallout is not dramatic. It does not glow, it does not smell, and it does not announce itself, but it can kill you slowly if you breathe it in or get it on your skin, which is why staying inside for as long as possible is critical, especially in the first 24 to 48 hours, because radiation levels drop fast at first, but they are extremely dangerous early on, and leaving too soon is one of the biggest risks. And Americans are used to evacuating for storms or fires, but nuclear fallout flips that instinct, because sheltering in place is often safer than moving, and once inside you seal yourself in as best you can. Close windows, turn off ventilation if possible. Block gaps with cloth, towels, tape, or anything you have, because every layer reduces exposure, and you wash exposed skin with soap and water if fallout may have touched you, but you do not use conditioner, because it binds particles to hair, and you change clothes and bag the old ones if you can, placing them away from people, and you stay calm, because panic increases breathing rate, and breathing faster pulls more radiation into your body. And this is where mindset matters. Because nuclear survival is not about heroics. It is about discipline, patience, and understanding that doing nothing is sometimes the smartest move. And communication may be limited. Phones may work briefly or not at all. The internet may be unreliable. and misinformation will spread faster than facts, so you trust official alerts more than rumors. But you also understand that help will not come immediately, because emergency services will be overwhelmed, damaged, or unable to reach everyone, which means self-reliance in the short term is essential. And that includes rationing water, because dehydration makes radiation damage worse, and avoiding unnecessary movement, because stirring up dust increases exposure. And if you hear sirens or secondary alerts, you stay put unless authorities clearly instruct you otherwise, because fallout patterns depend on wind, and moving blindly could take you from a safer area into a worse one. And if you are thinking about loved ones, you remind yourself that survival first gives you a chance to help later, because becoming another casualty helps no one. And the hardest part psychologically is accepting that the world outside may be changed, damaged, or silent, but acceptance keeps you alive. Denial kills, and time becomes strange in shelters. Minutes feel long, hours blur, but each hour you remain protected dramatically improves your odds, because radiation decays rapidly, and the difference between leaving at 6 hours versus 48 hours can be the difference between severe illness and walking away. And this is not optimism. It is documented science from past nuclear events and testing. And the reason this matters for Americans now is because nuclear weapons still exist, tensions still exist, and the idea that it cannot happen breeds unprepared reactions. But preparation does not mean fear, it means clarity, because knowing what to do removes panic. And panic is the real enemy in the first phase of a nuclear alert. And surviving that phase sets the foundation for everything that comes after. Once the initial danger has passed and you are still alive inside your shelter, the next phase of nuclear survival in America is about staying alive long enough for conditions to improve. Because nuclear war does not end with the explosion. It enters a quieter, more dangerous period where radiation, scarcity, and human behavior shape outcomes. And this is where patience saves lives, because the radioactive fallout outside continues to decay every hour. And the safest strategy is almost always to wait as long as possible before going out. Ideally at least 48 hours unless you are in immediate danger where you are. And during that time you focus on the basics: air, water, food, sanitation, and mental control, because sickness and injury rise quickly when stress takes over. And Americans are not used to confinement without information, which makes this phase psychologically difficult. But understanding what is happening reduces fear. Because radiation sickness does not strike instantly for most people, it develops over days, and minimizing exposure early greatly reduces severity. And when you do eventually need to move, you plan it carefully. Because outside is not instantly deadly after the first days, but it is still contaminated, so you limit time outdoors. You cover skin with long sleeves, hats, masks, or cloth over the mouth and nose, and you avoid touching surfaces unnecessarily, especially dust, ash, or soil, because fallout settles there, and you remove outer clothing when returning inside, washing exposed skin again with soap and water. And you remember that food in sealed containers is generally safe, but fresh produce outside may be contaminated, so canned foods, packaged foods, and stored supplies are the safest early options. And water from sealed bottles is best, while open water sources should be avoided unless treated, because radioactive particles can contaminate them. And this is where planning ahead matters. But even without preparation, improvisation helps, because survival is flexible, not perfect, and many Americans underestimate how adaptable they are under pressure. And community matters, because isolation increases risk, while cooperation increases chances, but trust must be cautious. Because desperation can change behavior, and the rule becomes simple: help when you can safely, but protect your shelter, your supplies, and your health, because chaos favors those who stay calm. And authorities will eventually communicate, even if delayed, through radio broadcasts, emergency channels, or in-person instructions. And having a battery-powered radio becomes extremely valuable, because it cuts through rumors. And you listen for information about fallout zones, safe travel routes, aid distribution, and medical guidance, because moving with knowledge is safer than moving blind. And when it comes to medical issues, small injuries become serious quickly. So cleaning wounds, avoiding infection, and resting matter more than usual. And radiation exposure weakens the immune system, which means sickness spreads faster. So hygiene, even basic, becomes a survival tool. And emotionally, this phase is heavy, because shock sets in, grief appears, and uncertainty weighs on the mind. But mental survival is not ignored, because people who maintain routine, purpose, and calm thinking make better decisions. And better decisions compound over time, And one of the most dangerous myths is that nuclear war means instant extinction, because that belief causes people to give up when survival is still possible. And history shows that people have survived nuclear detonations before, not because they were lucky, but because they were shielded, patient, and informed. And America has vast geography, varied terrain, and many areas that would not be directly hit, meaning survival is realistic for millions, but only if they avoid unnecessary exposure. And as days pass, radiation levels continue to drop. Infrastructure may begin limited recovery, aid may arrive, and movement becomes safer, though still cautious. And the focus shifts from immediate survival to longer-term adaptation, which includes finding stable shelter, reliable water, and community support. And while the world may feel permanently altered, human systems tend to rebuild faster than expected, because necessity accelerates cooperation, and fear eventually gives way to routine. And the final truth is that nuclear survival is not about strength or intelligence. It is about understanding risk, controlling fear, and making boring, disciplined choices over and over, like staying inside when you want to leave, conserving when you want to consume, and waiting when you want answers. And those choices are what keep people alive long enough to see recovery. And the reason this matters now is not to scare, but to empower. Because knowing how to survive a nuclear war does not mean you expect one. It means if the unthinkable happens, you do not freeze, you do not panic, and you do not waste the most valuable resource you have, which is time. And survival begins with accepting reality, responding immediately, and understanding that even in the darkest scenarios, calm action creates a path forward. And that path, while difficult, is real, measurable, and possible for those who stay grounded, informed, and patient.